Okay, so today we're going to simplify these rational expressions. So a rational expression is a ratio of two polynomials. And these are the steps that we're going to use to simplify them. If you can factor, you're going to factor. If you have monomials, you're going to use the exponent rules. So guys, this is an example of a monomial. This is a binomial. You're going to have to factor that, okay? So let's start with number one. What's 20 over 14? We can simplify this. Yep. How did you get 10 over 7? Yep, you divided both the numerator and the denominator by 2. Now we're going to use the exponent rules. Let me draw this. We have 6 x's in the numerator, and we have 2 in the denominator. Those cancel, leaving you with 4 x's. So that will be x to the 4th power. You can put it in the numerator if you want to, or you can write 10 over 7, x to the 4th. These are the same thing. All right, number 2. So first we had an example of a monomial. That was this question. Now we're going to do one where we can factor. So let's look at number 2. This numerator here, they can both be divided by a 6. So 6 will go on the outside. This is what we're left over with. And the reason why 6 times k is still 6k. 6 times negative 6 is still negative 36. So all we did was factor it. Okay, and right here it says eliminate common binomial factors. That cancels with this. So your answer is just 6. So today we're just simplifying these rational expressions by either using exponent rules or by factoring. So here's another example. I'm going to do number 4. So can all of these be divided by something? A 2. So 2 will be on the outside. Let's see what's left. R squared minus R minus 20. Because again, if you distributed this 2 in, you would get what we started out with. Okay, so let's go ahead and do an eye chart. I will need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 20, but add to negative 1.
4 and 5.
Perfect. Okay, so that's the numerator. The numerator can be written as 2, and then my factors, R minus 5 and R plus 4. That is the numerator factored. Now, my denominator, they can both be divided by 8, leaving you with R plus 4. Because 8 times R is 8R. 8 times 4 is 32. All right, so guys, now that we factored it, we're just going to cancel out common binomials. R plus 4 will cancel with R plus 4. What can we divide both the 2 and the 8 by? Yes, so let's divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. We will be left with 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And you're left with R minus 5. So you can just write it like this. You don't need parentheses. Just keep it like that. All right, so that is how you simplify these rational expressions. Let's talk about these type. Let's go ahead, because we have a little note here. Whenever you see something like this, it will equal negative 1. And I'll show you why. Let's go ahead and factor number 5. What will the numerator be? Yes, p plus 7 and p minus 7. And then you have 7 minus p in the denominator. They are saying that when you have a p minus 7, and then it's backwards, 7 minus p, it'll equal negative 1. So they're saying that the answer to this would be, this right here is just negative 1. So you have negative 1 times p plus 7. This is what they're saying the answer is. Let me show you why really quickly, why that's the answer. That's the rule. Let me show you the reason why. Okay, so if we were to rewrite this denominator, Let's divide both of these by a -1. That means -1 is on the outside. What will be left? -7 and a positive t, right? So we can rewrite this denominator as this. Just like we did previously, if I multiplied it back, -1 times -7 is +7. -1 times p is -p. We factored it. Now it looks like this. Do you guys also see that I can just switch this around, put the p first and the -7 in the back? Okay, so the denominator can be rewritten as -1 on the outside and then p -7. These cancel, leaving you with p plus 7 divided by a -1 is still just negative. So this is your answer. You can put a 1 there if you want. Okay, let's try number 8. Let's try number 8. What can the numerator both be divided by? 5, so 5 is on the outside, 9 minus w. Okay, all of these cannot be divided by something, so let's do an eye chart. You do 3 times 9, which is 27. You want them to add to -28. So this will be -27 and -1. So your factors are w minus 27 and w minus 1. Because we multiplied by 3 in the beginning, we're going to divide by 3 in the end. This will become w minus 9. And this will become 3w minus 1. So those are your factors. W minus 9 and 3w minus 1. What does the rule say? That this and this become -1. So your answer, this right here is just -1. So 5 times -1 is just a -5 over 3w minus 1. This is your answer. Okay, I'll let you guys do the rest of these. Let's go ahead and move on to multiplying. So when you have monomials, you just multiply them together. If you have a binomial or a trinomial, then you're going to factor first. Factor everything first. So guys, these are monomials. These are monomials. You're just going to multiply across. Whenever you have trinomials and binomials, like these examples, this is a binomial. It has 2 items. This is a trinomial. This is a binomial. You have to factor those. Okay? So let's do an example with monomials. You're just going to multiply across. What's 4 times 5? 20. I have a squared with a cubed. That's a to the 5th. I have b squared and b to the 6th. That's b to the 8th. Can someone tell me what 15 times 12 is?
180.
180, thank you. A times a to the 4th is a to the 5th. B cubed times b to the 7 is b to the 10. Okay, now we just simplify. A to the 5th, those cancel. These zeros can cancel. What can we divide 2 and 18 by? Both by 2. So we get 1 over 18 divided by 2 is 9. I have 8 b's on top and 10 b's on bottom. So I'll be left with b squared in the denominator. So that's your answer. Okay, another example for multiplying. We just have to factor everything. So guys, let's work on this numerator up here. What can these both be divided by? 4x. This will be left with an x minus 1. Okay, what can all these be divided by? 2. So we can write this as 2 times x squared plus 2x minus 3. And we'll do an eye chart. Two numbers that multiply to -3 add to 2. 3 and -1. Perfect. Okay, so I'll have 2 times x plus 3, x minus 1. That's that denominator factored. Okay, let's do an eye chart for this numerator. Two numbers that multiply to -6 add to 1. Perfect, 3 and -2. So that'll be x plus 3, x minus 2. What can these both be divided by? 4x. So 4x is on the outside. I'm left with an x plus 2. Perfect. All right, we factor everything. Now we just cancel things out. This is in the numerator, that's in the denominator, those cancel. That cancels out. 4x cancels with 4x. Okay, so what is left over is my answer. I have x minus 2 in the numerator, and I have 2 times x plus 2 in the denominator. Now, if you want to, you can multiply it out. Numerator will stay the same. This is 2x plus 4. I'll take either one. Okay, so we know how to multiply. Let's look at division and then we'll be done. Division. Here we go. All right, so to divide rational functions, expressions, multiply the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal. Or as you learned in elementary school, reciprocal. I think that should be an I. Okay. Keep. Change. Yep, you got it. Flip. KCF. Keep, change, flip. So we're going to do that here. You keep this first. Rational. We change it to a multiplication problem. And then you flip the second. So this will be 8q to the 5th, 35 p squared q squared. So we're basically multiplying by the reciprocal. You flipped it. That's the reciprocal. All right, now guys, you just multiply across like we did previously. So what's 5 times 8? 40. We get p and then q to the 6th. We have a q here and 5 q's there. That's q to the 6th. Now let's do the denominator. Can someone tell me 16 times 35? 560, thank you. And then I have p to the 5th, q squared. And now we'll simplify this. These zeros can cancel. I'm going to be left with how many p's and where would it be? Yep, p fourth on the denominator. And q's, what am I left with where? Good, q to the 4th on the top. Okay, now we can simplify 4 over 56. What can they both be divided by? 4, good. And what's 56 divided by 4? It's what? 14. All right, so that's your answer. Dividing, guys, same thing. For number 14, same thing. You keep the first fraction, change it, and we're going to flip this expression. And you do the same thing, factor everything out. This example becomes like this previous one that we did here. Factor everything, cancel out. I'm going to let you guys do that one. I'm going to do this harder one, number 16. This is how we're going to set it up. This is division. We move left to right. So this one will stay the same. K plus 3 divided by K. You're dividing by this. So we change it to multiplication and flip it. So this will be 1 over 4K plus 1. And then it's multiplying by 16K squared minus 1 over K plus 3. So this is how you would write it. Okay, now you just factor everything. The only thing that you can factor is this one right here. There's 2 ways you can think about this. You can square root both sides. The square root of 16 is 4, so it'll be 4k minus 1 times 4k plus 1. You can do it that way. Or another way you can do it is an eye chart. You'll get the same answer. So you always do 16 times -1 is -16. What's my b value? 0. So that'll be 4 and -4. So you'll have k plus 4, k minus 4. We multiplied by 16 in the beginning, so we have to divide by 16. This simplifies to 1/4. This simplifies to k minus 1/4. Bring the bottom to the front. So you'll get 4k plus 1 times 4k minus 1. Okay, those are two ways to factor these. So I'm going to rewrite this numerator as 4k plus 1, 4k minus 1. Now let's cancel everything. This cancels with that, k plus 3 cancels with k plus 3. I am left with this in the numerator and this in the denominator. That's my final answer. All right, guys, let's look at this real quick. You cannot do, you can't do something like this. Let's say I have 2x squared plus 4x plus 8 over 2x squared minus 4x minus 7. You can't cross those out. You have to factor. You can't do that. Okay? The reason why you can't do this, let's say I did 1 plus 3 over 1 plus 7. The answer is 4 over 8, right? If you just cancel this out, does this still make sense?
No.
Is 3 7 the same as 4 8? No, you can't just cross stuff out like that. You can't do it in this simple example, and you can't do it up here. So here, you would not be able to do this. You can't just do that. Okay? Right, number 14, number 15, look up here for confirmation. Attention students. Number 15. Quiet, please. Lyndon. Eyes up here, thank you. All right, let's look at the numerator. We're gonna divide these both by 2a squared. So you're gonna get a minus 6. Here, you do an eye chart, you multiply by -12 and get -4. So we do -6 and 2, yeah? Okay, so that will be a minus 6, a plus 2. Remember, you keep this fraction, change the symbol, flip it. So we'll have a squared minus 8a plus 15 in the numerator, 24a squared minus 8a cubed in the denominator. Okay, this up here, I need to do an eye chart. I have positive 15 with a -8. What is this, -5, -3? Perfect, so those are my factors. Let's rewrite this to be a minus 5, a minus 3. What can these both be divided by? 8a squared. 8a squared. Okay, so 8a squared is on the outside. What would be left? 3 minus a. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll have, let me write this down. This became 8a squared 3 minus a. Okay, so now we're going to cancel things out. That cancels. And what will this become? -1. So I'm just going to erase this. This and this is -1 times -1. Okay, let's go ahead and multiply across. This is what we will be left with.
I have, let me highlight, -1, 2a squared, so I'll write that down. -2a squared with this factor in the numerator. I have 8a squared along with this factor in the denominator. That cancels out the a squareds. These can both be divided by a 2. So this will be a minus 5 over 4. And it's negative. Because 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Oh, and we have a plus 2, I forgot that.
Oh, wait, I did just that.
That's your answer.
Oh.
All right, number 6, simplifying. So these can both be divided by 3a. So I'll put 3a on the outside. This will become 4a squared minus 1. Notice if I can multiply it back in and get what I started with. Okay. Let's work on this numerator real quick. I can factor this further. Because if you do the square root of 4, it'll be 2a. The square root of this will be minus 1. So you can also do it like this. Now, if you don't like the square root method of factoring, I can also do an eye chart. So let me also give you the answer using an eye chart. We do 4 times -1. That's -4. So 2 numbers that multiply to -4 add to 0 are 2 and -2. So your factors will be 2. Oh, sorry. Your factors will be a plus 2 and a minus 2. We multiplied by 4 in the beginning, so that is what we will divide by. So we have a plus a half and a minus a half. The denominator comes to the front, so we'll write this as 2a plus 1 times 2a minus 1. That's how you factor this part right here. Don't forget the 3a that's on the outside. So this is your entire numerator. Now let's look at the denominator. What can these both be divided by? Good, so I'll have 6a squared on the outside, and I'm left with 2a plus 1. So 2a plus 1 is in the denominator, and I have a 6a squared in the outside. Now everything's factored out. We can go ahead and cancel. Those cancel out. I have 1a in the numerator, that cancels out with 1a in the denominator. So it looks like I have 3 times 2a minus 1 over 6a. Now, we can also simplify 3 over 6. Divide it by 3, divide by 3. What will my final answer be? Yep, 2a minus 1 over 2a. 3 divided by 6 is 1/2. 6 divided by 3 lends us to this 2 right here. So that is your final answer.